Okay, this is lesson 16-2, Solve and Share, also known as classifying triangles. So before I begin classifying the triangle lesson, I'm going to review some of the angles. So there's three main angles that you're going to see in triangles, and they are the right angle, which is exactly 90 degrees. And usually you can see it by a box indicating that the two lines coming together are perpendicular, straight up and down, making it 90 degrees. And then of course there is the acute angle. And acute angles are less than 90 degrees. And generally I remember acute because cute things are like puppies and babies, and those things are small. So I remember that acute means less than 90 degrees. And we also show angles by drawing in an arch. So if I'm going to indicate this is an acute, I would draw that arch right in there and give the degrees of it. Then there's also the obtuse angle, and obtuse is greater than 90 degrees, and that means that it is a wider angle. And if you can remember that obese means a little bit wider, a little bit bigger, then you might remember obtuse. Obtuse meaning a wider angle or greater than 90 degrees. And there is one other angle that you may have reviewed, but this one is a straight angle. You will not see this in triangles, but a straight angle is 180 degrees, and we show that with an arch like this, okay, indicating 180 degrees. So the major angles are right, the acute, and the obtuse angles. So let's go ahead and take a look at our lesson, classifying angles. Sort the triangles shown below into two or more groups, and then explain how you sorted them and solve this problem. You may choose different ways to solve this one as you are sorting. So you may go ahead and pause the video and try sorting these angles in three groups. Okay, now let's take a look at how you may have sorted these angles. Someone may have taken the angles and said, well, there are blue triangles and they have three equal sides. So they're using sides as their classifying. And they said B and G have three equal sides. Then they said, well, the green triangles A, C, D, and E, I have two equal sides in them. And then the red triangle, they may have said, has no equal sides at all. So they may have classified their triangles by sides. Now someone else may have classified their angles by angles, okay? And so in this case, they may have said the blue triangles have two acute angles. So, or three acute angles, excuse me. So this one and this one, B and G, have three acute angles. And then they may have said the green triangles have a right angle in them. Now this symbol here indicates angle. And they would have said A, C, D, and E as their right triangles. And then of course they may have said the last one, the red triangle, has an obtuse right here, an obtuse angle, and it's the only one like it. Well, someone else may have made a tree map or classifying map, and they would have had it put like this. Well, these are right triangles, C, A, D, E, and then there are acute angles where all the angles in the triangle are acute, and that's B and G. And then there was one triangle that had an obtuse angle in it, and they classified that one as an obtuse triangle, and they labeled that one F. All three of these are correct. there are two main ways to classify angles, and that is by its sides or by its angles. So all of those would have been correct. Now when we look over here, it says, look back, generalize. What is true about all 7 triangles you sorted? Well, all 7 of them had 3 sides. Okay, and all 7 of them also had 3 angles. Well, surprisingly, you could categorize them by their sides or categorize them by their angles. Now, those of you who are kind of nitpicky, you may have used your FIE skills and you analyzed your triangles, and you might have used the tool, okay? And you would have said, oh, look, these ones are right triangles because I can put this tool right there in the corner and it is straight here and straight across there, making it perpendicular. That would have been a 90-degree angle. You could have done the same here with the letter A. When I place it in there, it's exactly straight up and down. That is another right triangle. And then we could have done the same thing with D. There it is. It fits right in there. That's another right triangle. Okay, and so, oh, there's E. Let's go ahead and figure out E. If I put it right up there against that corner, yeah, it makes a right triangle. So you could have not only analyzed, but you could have used a tool to come up with your categorizing groups. So I want to turn now to the page that you will see alternative paper lesson, and it's actually a great one. This one is where you can take your notes. Okay, so if you want to know how to classify and how to remember how to classify these triangles, you can classify it by sides or the measure of the angle of the angles. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this, and this is a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit bigger picture here. Okay, and so here it says there's equilateral triangles. Well, if you take a look at it, I'm going to bring it down. You can look at that a little better. An equilateral has the word equal, equal almost, okay? And so here we see that an equilateral has 3 sides that are the same size, same shape, which is called congruent. So an equilateral has congruent sides. If I measured them from here to here, using my tool, I should be able to see that all the sides are exactly equal. Okay? And there we go. We have an equilateral. Well, an equilateral is also an acute triangle. So we got this in sides, but when we look over here, it's also an acute triangle, because an acute triangle has 3 acute angles or less than 90 degrees. And if you look at this, these 3 are all less. And if you look at the equilateral, all 3 of these are less than 90 degrees, making it an equilateral. So I'm going to take a look a little bit deeper into the equilateral. So when we look at equilateral, we know that all 3 sides are equal, and this is kind of the symbol to show that the sides are equal. Okay, but an equilateral is special. It also has, because the 3 sides are equal, all its angles are also equal. And remember from your last lessons that all triangles, when you add up their angles always come up to 180 degrees. So if we take the equilateral and did 60 plus 60 plus 60, you will get 180 degrees, or 60 times 3 equals 180 degrees. And that's what's special about the equilateral. But the equilateral still falls under an acute triangle. So when we look here on that extra sheet that you're offered, these are great notes. Here they show the equilateral. Then they show you another angle that we haven't learned yet, but it's called the isosceles triangle. Now the isosceles triangle has at least two sides the same length. Okay, so here I'm going to show you the isosceles. It has two sides that are the same length. And so we can classify triangles by, again, the length of its sides. And then this bottom side would probably be longer or shorter. It all depends, okay? So isosceles, two sides are equal, but it still does have two acute angles. Every triangle will always have two acute triangles, okay? What makes them different is that third triangle, okay? So here, the equilateral has two acute, but the third angle is exactly the same degrees. That makes it equilateral. In the isosceles, it has two acute, but this one here angle, well, that's going to turn into a right triangle, this one. Okay, so that isosceles could have a right triangle, could have. Okay, so now let's take a look at, and then there's the scalene. I want to talk about obtuse also, but the scalene is just, he's just scaly. You know, it doesn't have smooth skin. If you think about a lizard or a snake, they're kind of scaly. And I just have to remember that the scalene triangle has no equal sides. And so equilateral, isosceles, and scalene triangles tend to be measured by their sides when we compare triangles. And then we have the acute, all three are acute, the right, where one of the angles has 90 degrees straight up and straight across, making it perpendicular lines, and then the obtuse. The obtuse always has one angle that is greater than 90 degrees, and because of that, none of its sides can be equal. They tend to be one side too far or one side too close, or anyhow, they're not equal. That's the obtuse triangle. So again, we can measure triangles by sides or by angles. And if you get this paper, it's the second one on the lesson, day 15, you can copy it or print it, but I encourage you all to take notes. Get out your math notebook, take notes on the six basic triangles. What we don't see here is, I think we see them all in here, okay? So those are our basic triangles. This will also be on a Google Doc that you can take a look at. There'll be your anchor chart as well, and you can take that in your notes. I've also included 3 videos, and I encourage you to watch those videos, take notes from the videos, and get yourself familiar with triangles.